And I think you've been taking attendance as everyone joins the meeting. So I will call the meeting to order at 11:30 on Friday, January 22nd. So attendance has been taken. Is there any public comment that you heard from, Jennifer?
I'm sorry, there is not.
No public comment. Okay, so we can move on to number 4, approval of the minutes of the December 18th, 2020 virtual meeting. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? And if so, is there a motion either to approve or are there any changes that anyone has first? Hearing no changes, let's have a motion to approve the minutes.
I was going to say the next meeting, it says in the minutes that it's going to be February 26th.
Oh, okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, it's pulled back. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but for the first time this year, we have the 2 later meetings instead of in the middle of the month because of the oddities of the calendar. So unless let me check here.
For January, I think that's what he's talking about. No, that's in the minutes.
February.
Yeah.
I think he was referring to January.
Right.
Because
it said on item 7, it said the meeting's going to be in February, where, item 6 above says it'll be considered for approval in January.
Well, it's actually January 22nd. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I may have been ahead of myself.
I want to make that change to the minutes of the last meeting.
Sure.
Yep.
The date. Okay. Yep. With that change in place, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move the approval.
Okay, Kevin moves. Is there a second? Okay, Jim seconds. Everyone in favor, say aye and raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Callers can say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Tom. And who's caller number 2?
It's Tom.
It's Tom. Tom's non-voting.
Okay. All right. So let's move on then. That motion passes. So we're going to move on to number 5, which is amendment number 12 to the fiscal 21 through 25 transportation improvement program for Connect Transit, consisting of updated tables for expenses, revenue and funding, and capital projects. So Ray or Jen, I would ask you to describe this.
Okay, they were at, I'll just brief background now, let Jen to go in. In fact, I don't know if they're planning to attend today's meeting, but they should.
They're not actually a member, and
yeah, but that's what
I haven't had an indication that they were planning on showing up.
But anyway, this is something that usually is part of the TIP program that they Connect Transit to provide more information than we typically do. And then it's not one of those like bridge project, highway improvement projects, but it's more on the funding and expenses. So more detailed than what we typically would see, by this committee. So I'll have Jen to go into that a little bit in depth.
Yeah, as some of you may have seen in the press coverage it's attracted, Connect received a pretty substantial juicing of their funding through a grant, and they plan to use it in a couple of instances, the upcoming decision-making and moving forward on the downtown transfer center in Bloomington, and also a variety of other projects, including augmenting the fleet and basic capital investments of various kinds. So the highlighted numbers are what have changed. And again, this is just sort of an up boost from the previous submitted budgets. And they've slightly changed the capital projects and funding projects in that they have included a separately granted change in replacement electric buses. Replacement here means that they're replacing an earlier set of vehicles that are not electric, and that's in progress over the next probably 2 years at least. They are expecting delivery this year of 4 electric buses and some of the infrastructure for charging them and getting them, on the road and off. And there will be a total of 17, 12 of which are, including the 4, are already under contract and thus being built and delivered over a time period. So this is going to be a big changeover, and it's part of what's in their capital program. But they also have revised their maintenance and rehab. Partly that's to install solar equipment on the facility itself out on Wiley Drive. And then it doesn't show here in quite as specific terms, but the ongoing investigation of the downtown transfer center is also part of this. So it's good news for transit users and supporters in this community because it's a really healthy chunk of funding that will make the system more sustainable, self-supporting in the sense of energy. Fewer diesel buses is a good thing for a variety of reasons. And this comes courtesy of our friends at the federal government who have decided on these, and to some extent IDOT. So that is the change that is being made here.
Question. Do these grants require an increase in local contribution?
Not at this stage. No, these
Okay.
do not.
All right. Will they in the future?
It depends on the grant source, and
Okay.
it's different than the highway program. So the rules are a little different if you're coming out of Federal Transit Administration rather than Federal Highway. And in this case, combined with some of the influx coming from the CARES Act, coronavirus sort of recovery funding, the rules are even different for that. So it's a combination of effects, but basically what this boils down to, they have a match, any matches are involved are covered. And, we have those taken care of. Sometimes that comes from the state, sometimes it doesn't. And in this instance, they have everything that's needed to put the grants in place has been found or added, and so they're complete.
Are there any other questions regarding this amendment? I have one other question. This was all approved by the Connect Transit Board, right, before coming to our agency here?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, let's have a motion. Would anyone like to? Okay, Ryan?
Move approval.
You move to approve. Okay, amendment number 12. Is there a second to that motion?
Kevin?
Kevin seconds that motion. Let's have a vote then. All in favor of approving amendment number 12, please raise your hand or say yes if you're on the phone.
Yes.
I couldn't hear everyone, Jennifer, but it sounded to me like that was a unanimous vote.
That's correct. Scott responded on the phone, so we have everybody.
All right. Okay, so I believe we're ready to move on to number 6, which is a resolution acceptance of IDOT revised targets for federal performance measures. Could either Jen or Ray enlighten us on this?
Yeah, I'll start and I'll have Jen to fill in. 2 years ago, well, a little bit over 2 years ago, 2018, we're talking about IDOT adopted certain targets, for the federal performance standards, and then now it kind of at a 2-year mark, and then they have done some review, have made some changes, and those changes are reflected in the material that we have sent you with those changes highlighted. And so we also have included a resolution for you to consider for approval, and that basically this had gone to the technical committee last week and actually had prior discussions, and everybody on the committee were okay that we will go along with the changes and adjustments as suggested by IDOT, but to go for the formal process this has to be also adopted by you, by the policy committee. In Jenny, anything else to add?
Yes, very quickly. There's been a long progression of the promulgation by the federal government of these performance measure standards. In other words, basically everyone, starting with the state, is required to demonstrate that they have implemented measurement strategies for various goals, and then be able to demonstrate their compliance and or their achievement of those performance measures through targets that they've established. So back in 2018, as this was beginning to roll out, the state established targets, additional performance measure requirements, and then targets were added over the last couple of years. And what we have now is a transition from that 2-year period of determining if targets have been met to the next 2-year period, starting from last October and moving to 2022 to look at what we have here are the adjusted, in some cases, targets where the state feels that it's achieved a certain amount, so it can change the targets looking forward. And then it's everything there is covered here. So what we're doing is adopting these targets as support to the state. In some cases, they don't make a whole lot of sense for us as a region because of the numbers involved. If we have a 2% reduction in fatalities, that's, a fraction of a person not killed. So that what we're saying is in the resolution, the McLean County Regional Planning Commission, Bloomington Normal MPO supports the state's targets and will contribute to them as best we can within our local setup.
When you say contribute to them, what does that mean?
That means that we make efforts, as we have done and continue to do, to reduce fatalities, to reduce crashes. Some of these only apply to the state because they relate to federal and state controlled facilities like the interstate highways. Not a whole lot we can do about the interstates, but some of these we can have an impact by reducing the local incidence of these types of crashes, injuries, other statistics.
Are there any comments or questions regarding this amendment? Okay, hearing none, let's have, would anyone like to present a motion for approval? Could you, Jim, do you move to approve the amendment? Okay. All in favor, raise their hand or say aye if you're on the phone.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Mary, did you have a second on that? I missed it.
Oh, we need a second on that. I'm sorry.
It's
Who
okay.
would like to second that? Kevin motioning. So Jim moved and Kevin seconded. Let's have another vote here on that. Raise your hand in favor of the amendment and say yes or aye if you're on the phone.
Yes.
Caller 2?
I think that's Tom Caldwell. He doesn't vote.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then the amendment passes unanimously. Okay. So the next item that we move on to is that which may arise. Is there anything that anyone would like to bring up during our meeting? Hearing none, let's move on to number 8. The next scheduled meeting is February 26th at 11:30. So if no one has a problem with that, that works on everyone's schedule. Is that okay, that date? I think it's been previously scheduled. So, okay, if everyone's okay with that, that concludes our meeting. So everyone have a great day. And it is now 11:44. May I have a motion to adjourn? Adjourned, is there a second? 9 seconds, let's have a vote. All in favor? Or say aye. All right, have a great day, everyone.